Female CEO cries, "I lost everything." The mechanic simply says, "You still have her." "Mommy, why aren't we moving?" Ava Bennett blinked, her hand still gripping the steering wheel, as if holding on tightly might keep everything else from falling apart. Rain hammered against the windshield, streaking the world outside into a blur of gray and fractured light. "The car's just taking a little break, sweetie," she said, forcing a smile into her voice. In the rear seat, Mia hugged her worn teddy bear closer. The soft toy's stitched smile tilted with concern. "Is it broken?" "Maybe just tired," Ava murmured. It had been the kind of day that felt like a test she never agreed to take. That morning, a boardroom filled with stony faces. A contract she'd spent months securing, torn apart by a hidden clause she hadn't seen coming. Stock prices plummeting before lunch. The media swarming, calling her a failure before she had time to catch her breath. That afternoon, a sudden downpour in the parking lot, soaking her hair, her dress clinging to her skin. And now, her Mercedes, her last symbol of control, dead on the shoulder of an empty back road. It felt like the universe was checking boxes on her destruction list. She reached for her phone and dialed roadside assistance. "Operators are currently busy," the automated voice sang. She tried again. Same result. A third attempt, same cold answer. Ava let the phone slide into her lap. Her fingers trembled. Outside, the rain beat harder, seeping in through the edges of the window. Mia leaned forward, her small voice soft. "Are you crying?" Ava turned her face away. "Just rain, honey." Taking a breath, she unbuckled her seatbelt. "Stay here. Mommy's going to check the car." She stepped out into the downpour. Cold air wrapped around her instantly, her heels skidding on the slick asphalt. She popped the hood and stared at the tangle of metal and wires. She knew financial forecasts and hostile press cycles, but this? She closed the hood, the sound sharp in the rain. Moving to the rear, she pressed her shoulder against the trunk, straining to push the car farther from the lane. The rain plastered her dress to her legs, her shoes slipping with each shove. The car inched forward, stubborn as stone. Her lungs burned. Why does it all have to happen today? A shadow appeared beside her. A firm, steady hand caught her elbow before she could lose her balance. "Easy there, ma'am. Let me help." She turned, meeting the calm eyes of a tall man. Rain darkened his t-shirt, a smear of grease marking his forearm. Hair plastered to his forehead. From inside the car, Mia had lowered the window just enough to call out, "Are you a superhero? You look like one." A quick smile touched his mouth. "Just a mechanic, kiddo." Without another word, he shrugged off his heavy jacket and draped it over Ava's shoulders. The warmth startled her. He moved to the back of the car, bracing himself. "On three," he said. 1, 2, 3. The car rolled into place with surprising ease under his strength. He popped the hood, leaning in with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, the engine roared back to life. Ava dug into her bag and pulled out a folded $100 bill. "Please take it," she said, her voice cracking. I lost everything today. My job, my dignity, and now my car." He glanced at the money, then at Mia in the back seat, watching him with wide eyes. Gently, he pushed Ava's hand back. "You still have her," he said quietly. "That's enough payment for today." The words landed heavier than the rain. She held his gaze, something in her chest loosening. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded. "Drive safe. Keep the jacket until you're dry." As she slid behind the wheel, Mia grinned from the back seat. "Bye, Uncle Mechanic." In the mirror, Ava saw him standing in the rain, one hand lifted in farewell. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time all day, it didn't feel quite so impossible. Booth, Mia between them, bouncing with excitement. When the pizza arrived, the cheese stretched in long strings, and the slices were far too big for Mia's small hands. Ava reached for the serving spatula, but Luke was already cutting one slice into neat, manageable squares. He pushed a plate in front of Mia, who grinned at him like he'd just performed a magic trick. "Thanks, Uncle Luke," she said, spearing a bite with her fork. Ava watched the exchange, something warm settling low in her chest. She wasn't used to this, someone else quietly stepping in, making her daughter feel seen without being asked. The conversation drifted easily. Luke told a funny story about a customer who had tried to fix his own alternator and ended up gluing part of it to the hood. Mia recounted, in dramatic detail, a schoolyard game that had apparently involved an invisible dragon. Ava found herself laughing more than she had in weeks. After dinner, They walked out into the cool night air. The street lamps painted the sidewalk in pools of gold. Mia skipped ahead, humming to herself, her hand clasped around a small leftover box Luke carried for her. Ava glanced at him. "You're good with her," she said softly. Luke shrugged. "Kids are honest. They tell you exactly what they think. Makes it easier to know where you stand." They reached the corner where their paths would split, his truck parked down one street, her building up the other. Mia ran back, pressing the box of leftovers into Ava's hands before throwing her arms around Luke's waist. "Good night, Uncle Luke," she said. "Good night, kiddo," he replied, giving her hair a gentle tousle. Ava watched as he walked away, the sound of his footsteps fading into the quiet street. She realized, with a mixture of surprise and unease, that she was already looking forward to the next accidental meeting. The tension inside the Bennett Technologies offices was a living thing. It clung to the air like static, buzzing in every whispered hallway conversation and in every set of eyes that darted away when Ava passed. Her phone never stopped ringing. Investors wanted reassurance she couldn't honestly give. Employees wanted to know if they'd have jobs next month. The media called daily, pressing for a statement while running headlines that painted her company's future in shades of disaster. One Tuesday morning, her assistant walked in with a slim leather folder. "You've got a meeting request," she said. "Big money. They want to buy and keep you as CEO. Could be salvation." Ava hesitated before opening the folder. Inside was a crisp letterhead bearing the name Argentum Group, a multinational conglomerate with deep pockets and a reputation for swallowing smaller companies whole. She knew they could stabilize her finances overnight. She also knew there was always a cost. 2 days later, she was ushered into a sleek, glass-walled boardroom high above the city. The man waiting for her, the Argentum CEO, was all smooth smiles and expensive tailoring. "We've been following your work for years, Miss Bennett," he began, pouring her a glass of water like they were old friends. "Your company has potential. It just needs the right backing." He laid out the offer with the precision of someone closing in on prey. Argentum would buy a controlling share, invest heavily, and keep Ava in the CEO's chair. "We'll weather this storm together," he promised, his tone rehearsed. Ava's gaze wandered as he spoke, drawn to the wall behind him. Framed photographs hung in neat rows, images of the company's past ventures. One in particular caught her breath, a younger Luke smiling beside another man about the same age. Both wore racing suits, arms slung over each other's shoulders, the background a blur of a racetrack. "That was years ago," the CEO said when he saw where she was looking. "We sponsored a racing team for a while. Great publicity." His voice slid past the truth, skipping whatever story lay in the shadows of that photograph. But Ava knew. She remembered Luke's quiet tone the night he told her about the crash, the teammate who didn't make it, the end of his racing career. She remembered the way he'd looked past her when he said he never went back to the track. And now she was sitting across from the man who had written that chapter in fine print. She finished the meeting on autopilot, her responses polite but distant. By the time she returned to her office, her pulse was still uneven. That night, she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the city's muted glow spilling through the curtains. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Luke's hands grease-stained, steady, fixing her stalled car in the rain. She saw him cutting pizza for Mia, dropping by with things her daughter had left behind, showing up when she didn't ask but somehow needed it most. He had never once asked for anything in return. And here she was, weighing whether to align herself with the very people who had taken something from him that he could never get back. By dawn, the decision was clear. At 9 sharp, she called Argentum CEO. "I appreciate the offer," she said evenly, "but I'm going to pass." He sounded almost amused. "You understand what you're walking away from?" "I do," she said. "And I understand what I'd be walking into." She hung up before he could reply, leaning back in her chair. The storm outside her office window mirrored the one her company was still facing. But for the first time in weeks, Ava felt certain she had done the right thing. The road ahead might still be brutal, the headlines might still sting, but she would rather stand in the wreckage with her integrity intact than rebuild on someone else's ruins, especially if those ruins belonged to Luke's past.